Thank you for joining us. We continue our study in the Gospel of John. Today we are looking in John chapter 7, verses 14 through 27. When the festival was already half over, Jesus went up into the temple, and he began to teach. Then the Jews were amazed and said, "How is this man so learned, since he hasn't been trained?" And Jesus answered them, "My teaching isn't mine, but is from the one who sent me. If anyone wants to do his will, he will know whether the teaching is from God or whether I am speaking on my own. The one who speaks on his own seeks his own glory, but he who seeks the glory of the one who sent him is true, and there is no unrighteousness in him. Didn't Moses give you the law? Yet none of you keeps the law. Why are you trying to kill me?" "You have a demon," the crowd responded. "Who is trying to kill you?" "I performed one work, and you are all amazed," Jesus answered. "This is why Moses has given you circumcision. Not that it came from Moses, but from the fathers. And you circumcise a man on the Sabbath. If a man receives circumcision on the Sabbath so that the law of Moses won't be broken, are you angry at me because I made a man entirely well on the Sabbath? Stop judging according to outward appearances. Rather, judge according to righteous judgment." Some of the people of Jerusalem were saying, "Isn't this the man they are trying to kill? Yeah, look, he's speaking publicly, and they're saying nothing to him. Can it be true the authorities know that he is the Messiah? But we know where this man's from. When the Messiah comes, no one will know where he is from." Okay, let's make some notes and kind of pick this one apart a little bit. Verse 15, "Then the Jews were amazed and said, 'How is this man so learned, since he has not been trained?'" Now, the Jewish system of raising up rabbis or training really was kind of a grist mill. The only knowledge is passed down from one rabbi to another rabbi. It's like if you only had one seminary. And so this knowledge is essentially regurgitated. I mean, there's nothing new coming into the system. And so, one rabbi teaches one of his apprentices, and they grow up and they teach another apprentice, and this keeps going on and on and on and on, and you don't have any new knowledge or anything coming in. Jesus never attended their seminary. He never went through their routine, so therefore they are saying, since he hasn't been trained. Verse 16, Jesus answered, "My teaching is not my own. It comes from the one who sent me. Anyone who chooses to do the will of God will find out whether my teaching comes from God or whether I speak on my own." And that's kind of an interesting thing. Look at the if-then statement. If you do the will of God, you will discern my teaching comes from God or comes from me. Okay, that's kind of a summary there. That's kind of a Larry paraphrase there. If you do the will of God, you will discern if my teaching comes from God or if it comes from me. And this kind of brings me to the point that we're going to get into today, and that is, how many times do we accept the teaching we hear from the pulpit, from a friend, from YouTube, even from me, and we accept it at face value? We just, "Oh, wow, that person knows what they're talking about. Okay, I'm just going to accept it." We should never accept any teaching as truth without examining it. And that includes my teaching, by the way. Examine it. Make sure I'm doing the right thing. We're going to come back to that point. 19, "Didn't Moses give you the law? Yet none of you keeps the law. Why are you trying to kill me?" It's kind of a fun contrast there, because the law says what? Don't murder. Okay, he's pointing out to the fact that you're trying to kill me, yet you say you keep the law. Verse 20, "You have a demon," the crowd responded. "Who's trying to kill you?" The phrase, "you have a demon," probably better interpreted as, "you are crazy in the head." A lot of things were blamed on demons at this particular point in time. Basically, almost everything was blamed on demons. If someone was mentally ill, whatever, they would often blame this as, being demon. So it's probably better interpreted as, "you are crazy in the head." Why? Because he just claimed his teaching is above that of the establishment. He just claimed his teaching is above the rabbis. Okay? That's a pretty bold claim. What would you say if someone came into your church or your Bible study or whatever, and they just sat down and they said, what you're doing is wrong. It's not good enough. My authority is from God because I'm from God. What would we say? And probably look at him a little cross-eyed. We'd probably go, okay, I'm not sure I'm buying this. It's kind of what happens. It's kind of what Jesus is. These people who've committed their lives to studying the law, to practicing the law, to teaching the law, to passing it down to other people, the law. And he comes in and he starts teaching different things, and they're like, okay, where are you getting this from? 23. If a man receives circumcision on the Sabbath so that the law of Moses won't be broken, why are you angry at me? Because I made a man entirely well on the Sabbath. Stop judging according to outward appearances. Rather, judge according to righteous judgment. Chapter 5 is where he healed the man on the Sabbath. Then they're still upset about it. They're still talking about it. Let's pick real quick at so that the law of Moses won't be broken, but I made a man entirely well on Sabbath. They had some 630 rules, interpretations of how to observe the Sabbath. The rule is don't work, but now we have to define what work is. Well, work may be carrying a load. Well, what's a load? Now you have to define what a load is. There's really a lot of human interpretation that probably isn't very godly in their keeping of the Sabbath. 24, stop judging according to outward appearances. Rather, judge according to righteous judgment. That one's really hard for us because we can't see the heart. That's what he's telling them to do, though. Quit judging according to man's standards. Quit judging according to the standards that man has set up. Judge according to righteous judgment. Judge according to what is, righteous, right. That's what he says. And that's hard for us to do because really you need to be able to see what their motivation is. You need to be able to see what they're doing and why they're doing it. 25. Some of the people in Jerusalem were saying, isn't this the man they're trying to kill? The note I want to make here is it is common knowledge that they were trying to kill him. That's how extreme the Jews disliked Jesus. They are trying to kill him. We're not even close to the crucifixion yet. We're only in chapter 7, and they're trying to kill him already. And what does he say? He says, we're trying to kill him. But people know this, that they're trying to kill him. That's what's kind of crazy. 27, but we know where this man is from. When the Messiah comes, nobody will know where he is from. It was a common belief at that time that the Messiah would simply appear. Because he was commissioned by God, he would not have earthly roots. Well, they know Jesus' lineage, so, he's disqualified. I'm sorry. You can't be the Messiah because of the fact that we know where you came from. Where does this teaching come from? Well, this is something that the rabbis kind of pulled out of the hat. It comes from man. It's the tradition that they held. We don't find it anywhere in the Bible that the Messiah is going to simply appear. In fact, the Bible's pretty clear. He's born in Bethlehem. He teaches that he's from the lineage of David. But the point I really want to bring into today is question authority. There was back in the 60s and stuff, there was a lot of that. Oh, question authority. It's not really like that. It's not really doubt authority. It's make them show their work. Hold them accountable. If someone has a teaching, and if it sounds out of line, make them show their work. Even if it doesn't sound out of line, make them show their work. Why do you believe what you believe? Show me where you come up with this answer in the Bible. Show me in the Bible where you come up with this answer. Hold them accountable. I ain't had an algebra teacher. We probably all had algebra teachers. And I had this algebra teacher, and, I turned in my paper, and my algebra teacher says, "You didn't show your work." I said, "Well, the answer's right." And the algebra teacher goes, "Yes, the answer's right, but you didn't show how you got your answer. You didn't show your work." I said, "But the answer's right, but you didn't show your work." Show your work. Make them show their work. An interesting one here is a theologian back in AD 415. His name was Pelagius. And Pelagius said, "God is fair and just. Therefore, God would not ask us to do anything we could not do. Therefore, we must be able to keep the law." See, God asks us to keep the law. It would be unfair to ask us to do something we are not capable of, so therefore we have the potential to keep the law. Where is Pelagius' work on this? Well, you can prove the first point. God is fair and just. Okay. The next one is start stretching a little bit. Therefore, he could not ask us to do anything that we could not do. The reaction then is, therefore, we can keep the law. Where does Pelagius fall apart? He falls apart in Paul, where he says we all have original sin. Where he writes, we all have the sin of Adam. Through one man, sin entered the race. That's where his argument falls apart. Make you show your work. Make them show your work. Question authority. Make them show where they come up with a conclusion. And if they make too many hops and they do too many aerial acrobatics, you probably need to walk away from that one. Question authority. Make them show their work. Understand why they believe what they believe. Thanks for listening.